Welcome to the Simpler Business Podcast, where we talk about ways to do what you love and serve your people in a way that brings you income and freedom. I'm your host, Marissa Roberts. Join me as I chat with my favorite entrepreneurs about how they simplify their biz so that you can simplify yours. There is so much to juggle as a business owner or entrepreneur. Product creation, customer service, marketing, sales, growth, visibility. They all feel equally important. So it's hard to know what we should be focusing on and when in order to grow our business and be successful. If you've been wondering what you should be prioritizing in your business and how to manage your time and energy and resources so you can actually get the important things done, you are going to love our guest today. Owner of Horizon Performance Insights, Heather Cameron shows women business owners how to create a client attraction system that turns followers into paying clients. She helps them get focused, simplify, and take messy actions that ignite their market and get them results. If you want to get laser focused on what your unique business needs are right now to get more clients, Heather is the person to go to. So I'm very excited to chat today. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you. I'm very excited to chat with you as well.
I love your stuff when it comes to client attraction because your approach is it doesn't have to be perfect. We just need to take action and get into the habit and get comfortable with doing the things. And I think that's such an important thing, you know, like messy action is so much better than stressing and not taking any action at all, right?
Absolutely. You know, if you don't take action, if you don't do something to move your business forward, nothing is going to happen. It's kind of the old, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there, will they hear it kind of thing, right? If you're not out there taking action and trying to bring in clients, it's hard to get clients. It's a pretty simple thing.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's so strange because in this world, it's really, really easy to kind of get sucked into the social media wormhole, right? Where you start scrolling for ideas and inspiration first thing in the morning. And then 3 hours later, you realize you've been consuming content the whole time, but you feel like you've been at work, right? So it feels like you've had a full work day because you've been thinking business stuff that whole time, but it's not actually your stuff that you're creating. So there's a real disconnect there between effort and results. And I think more and more, as we see more platforms come in and more opportunities to be visible, it's an either or thing. We're either going to go with it and skyrocket, or we're going to get trapped in that cycle of, you know, will I be doing it right? Imposter syndrome, comparing ourselves to other people. It's just, yeah, it's a danger zone if you don't know what to focus on.
It is actually. And there is so many ways to do our businesses now. Like it's so much easier than it used to be. And yet it's so much harder. And it's kind of a combination. I've been in business it'll be 20 years this year. And when I first started out, there was no Facebook. I feel really old when I say that. There was no Facebook. There definitely was no Zoom. There wasn't any of these things. And you built your business in many ways in a simpler way. Now we have so many options and so many people telling us what to do, but not really doing it from a business perspective. And I think that's what's missing a lot. So it's very easy to go on Facebook and scroll and try and find and try and do what someone else told you to do and try this and this strategy, without actually thinking about what's the business behind it. Why am I doing this?
And I think that whole bright, shiny object syndrome, I hear about that a lot at the moment. And you're right, all of that stuff is not really business focused. It's all of the should do's, all of the, there's an expert out there for every tiny little part of a business now. And so we all think, we hear from this expert that this is the key to success. But that's just kind of distracting us away from the stuff that is tried and tested and true, that's worked for the last 50, 60 years really in business, what we should be.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, one of the things your should thing brought up, which I love, which is, I did this a long time ago. I created my very first freebie was called a should meter, right? So we have to stop shooting ourselves to death. But it was really to say, when something comes new to us, first stop and say, do I want to do this? Mm-hmm. And that's the question. If I want to do it, yes. Do I want to do it? No. Then put it on the no and don't think about it again. And if it's yes, ask yourself a second question. Do I want to do it now? What am I sacrificing in my business if I decide to do this now? And it's such a powerful question, because then you can say, yeah, I want to do that, but I want to do that 6 months from now, or I want to do it 3 months from now. And then you park it out of your brain and you say, I'll come back to that idea 3 months from now. And it's just, those are two really powerful ways to look at it when you get shoulded, right? Whether you're shoulding yourself, which is often, or somebody else is, then it really is a great way to say, okay, do I want to do it? Yes. can I do it now? Is it going to sacrifice something else in my business or my life or whatever? And if the answer is yes, then you can balance it and say, okay, I'm willing to give this up to put this in. But if the answer is yes, then you can delay it.
Yeah. So it's not about cramming more in. It's about prioritizing what's most important to you. I love that, because I think business owners in general, we have a hard time zeroing in on exactly what actions we should prioritize, because we're hearing so many different messages at once and we're consuming them very, very quickly and in large volume every day. And it's easy to get carried away with it and stop thinking in terms of what's actually going to make sales, what's actually going to make us a profit, what's going to increase our visibility, and positioning ourselves in the market as the go-to person. Do you think that's why people get so overwhelmed? There's just too many choices now? Or do you think it's something more to do with the fact that there's more technology and more, just too many options these days?
I think it's a little bit of that, but I also think they've never been taught the basic principles of running a business. And even as a coach, right, we need to, what is business? Like, and there's a great quote by Wayne Dryers, I believe it. The purpose of a business is to get clients. Because if you don't have clients, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
Right. You don't, so business success is math. And when you actually start from that principle, then it helps you weed out the shiny object syndrome. Right. And we all get the shiny object syndrome. We all get kind of, oh, that's kind of cool. I want to play with that. I'm a techie. So, there's that cool piece of technology. I want to do it. But is that going to help me? Right. Is that going to help me grow my business? And it really isn't. It's a simple amount of numbers. How many people come in? It's traffic. How many people see your business? How many people engage in your business? How many people buy? How much do they buy? And how frequently do they buy? Those are kind of the parameters that we should be focusing on as business owners, not how many posts I'm making on Facebook, not how, right? It's like, really, what are we focusing our energy on? And what's going to make a difference in your business? Business success is numbers.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us, when we see those big guru names out there and everything looks completely flashy and glam and like they're just getting out of bed and just flowing through the day. I'm a big believer in flow when you're working, but getting into a state of flow for me is about getting into that mode where I am working very, very smoothly, not doing anything at all and having it just magically come. And I think what people don't realize is those big names, those big gurus, they've been growing over time. They actually have a solid business foundation behind the scenes, but people don't see that because customers aren't interested in that. Customers are interested in what they're selling, not in the systems and processes behind the scenes or the math. I really love how you said the math, because for me, that's like a load off straight away, because it takes the emotion out of sales. It's not personal. I don't have to worry about rejection. It's not somebody saying I'm not good enough. There's no imposter syndrome. It's just a numbers game. It's just how many people have seen you, how many times have they seen you, how many opportunities have they had to buy from you. That actually makes it a lot less pressure, I think.
It does. And it's also, are the right people seeing it? So that's a question you have to look at, right? But, one of the things I love to work with clients is just, one of the simple things, because we're on the online business, we're talking about this, and it's a great example about math, is let's say you've designed an opt-in page for a freebie. How well is that page converting? It's just a number, right? And so if that page is converting, which standards like 30%, let's say, then every 100 people that come, 30 people are going to sign up. If you can get that page to convert by just tweaking things and being curious and get it to convert at 75%, then you more than doubled the amount of people getting on your list or coming into your world with the same effort. Because you're pulling the same amount of people to it. And so very few people actually do that. They create their freebies, they do this, and then they never look at it again. Or their opt-in page.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And I have most of my opt-in pages convert above 60%, but that's taken effort. And I just had one that was converting at 75%. Yay me. Right. Awesome. But that takes effort, right? But it's not hard because there's not very many words on these pages. It's just tweaking here, tweaking there, being curious, studying your numbers and optimizing them to the best of your capacity. And then you can determine what you need to fix. Right. Yeah. And so if you're converting at 75%, but only 5 people sign up, well, then you better be converting your marketing that's drawing them to the page, right? So it just makes it very specific about learning what you need to work on. as opposed to, oh, that was a nice one I just created. Somebody told me I should go over here. Now I should go over here and I should be on Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing. And that's, I think, what's pulling people to exhaustion in some respects, because how can we do everything?
I see that pattern all the time. When I'm working with private clients, the first thing they do is they say, I'm so busy, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted. And then I find out that they've done that. They've created something, put it out there, given it one chance or like a few weeks to see if it works. And then just if it didn't convert high enough, they go, oh, well, people mustn't be interested in that. And then they move on and they start thinking about what else can I create? And I'm like, no. You're starting that whole massive cycle again when you don't have to. Your thing is good. You just haven't maybe reached enough people yet or haven't shown them how your thing is going to make their life easier or better in some way. And it's those little tweaks, you might make 4 little tweaks and only one of them made the biggest difference in the conversion. So that's why it's important to do it and then test it, right? Not just forget about it and go and move on to something else.
Absolutely. And I'm guilty of the same thing. I just actually pulled out a product that I haven't released for a year and a half. And I pulled it out and I'm putting it back. And I just spent today rewriting my sales page because I'm like, oh yeah, your message wasn't really clear to me when I wrote it. But when you're so in depth to it, it wasn't clear, right? And so it's important to kind of look what you have and focus on making that better. And your comment about a lot of people put something out and then it doesn't work. And they say, oh, well, that doesn't work. I'll go do something else. Typically for that, we often get success in our first release of something, because I always call it the low-hanging fruit. Your friends, your family, your fans, whatever, they're the first to adapt to it. And then the next time you release it, it's like crickets. And the reason it's crickets is no one new has seen it. So if you're not bringing new people in to see what you're doing, then you will eventually hit a cricket moment, right? Where you've outsold your list, you've outsold the people who are in your orbit, whatever that is. And that's why it's important to always have newness coming in, because otherwise we can outsell what we have.
Yeah. Okay. So I can see that's what you mean when you say building an audience should be a priority, right? So do you mean, a lot of people have a launch model and they go into product creation mode and then they think I have to launch, so I have to build my list in order to sell this product. But then on the other side of things, I don't know, I always think to myself, long-term list building could be the goal, because that way people get familiar with you and get comfortable with you and know what you're good at over time, so that when you do launch, you don't have to build an audience at the same time as launching. What are your thoughts on those two different ideas?
I think that it's not an if or, they're kind of a both, right? So you should always be building your audience. We always should be doing things that build our audience. And the best way to do it, we can talk about it as well, is leveraging, right? So we always want to be building our audience, bringing new people, because if you're not building, it's shrinking.
Yeah.
The reality of it is, I've had people go off my list who've been on my list for 10 years. They go off because I'm no longer appropriate to them. And then I've had people who come on and go off the next day, right? We've all seen that. Yeah. So if you're not growing your list, it's going to be shrinking. And so constantly growing your list and building systems in place, or look for opportunities that help you grow your list, that's really going to build you up. But a launch can also be a method to grow your list, right? If you're launching and you're putting it out in social media, and if you're using partners or however you're doing it, there's going to be some new people who come in during your launch as well. So it's not an if or, it's a combination of recognizing that the bigger your audience, the more people you have to sell to. It's as simple as that, right? Yeah. And then you can kind of start to put your systems on repeat. So the people that you're talking about, those gurus out there who are making all this money, they know their numbers inside and out, number one, or somebody in their organization does. And they're constantly building. So they may be using ads to build their list. They may be using different ways, but they're constantly building. And I've been inside some of their bigger releases where I've been a joint venture partner. And they do tons of list building leading up to it, but that's part of their process.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not one or the other. You should be constantly list building. And you know what? It's so much easier if you focus on building your audience and optimizing what you sell, then it becomes much easier to sell.
Yeah. You don't have to do the hard sell then at any point.
Exactly. But the other thing about building your audience is this is a big mistake. And I'm sure we've all done it. I know I did it initially. You got to create a freebie, got to do this. You do that. And then there's no warmth. I call it your warm hug. There's no warmth. You haven't brought people in and made them feel valuable, made them feel like they can know, like, and trust you, but that you actually understand them.
Yeah.
Because that's the important part of a client journey. I have like a model where people start off as like, we all start off, but they don't know us and we don't know them. Where we all start in business. And then the first thing happens, they become what I call lurkers. They become aware of you and you're not yet aware of them. And it's important to know where people are learning to become aware of you. And then there's a moment when you become aware of them. And that's when you take responsibility for that relationship to move it along so that you eventually become a client.
Oh, so
and
really,
so when's the moment you become aware of people? Typically, they join your email list. If you have a Facebook group, they might join your Facebook group or LinkedIn group. But there's a moment where you become aware of someone. And that's a moment that you kind of have to shift your marketing material and what you're doing. At that point, you're not only building know, like, and trust, but the other two things you want to build is you want to build that whatever your transformation is possible for them, and that you're the person to do it with.
Oh, so you've really got to position very strategically at that point in order to.
And I also think,
Sorry. No, you're right. I was just thinking, because otherwise you've just got people lurking the whole time. They never kind of move on from lurking to working with you. They just kind of stay where they are if you don't do that. Yeah.
Right. And you also want to make offers. That was one of my mistakes when I first started out. Like, I was a great networker because there was no online, like I said, and people knew me, but they didn't actually know how to work with me. So I never made it. I just figured it was obvious, but it wasn't. And then I remember asking someone, I'm like, why did you go work with this other person? They said, because I didn't know you were available. I didn't know that you had something for me to work with you. I'm like, oh, okay. And that was a real aha. We have to make it super easy. I call it the sweet spot. We're all trying to hit a sweet spot, which is when people are aware of you, they know, like, and trust you. Your offer's in front of them and they're ready to act. And if you don't have you don't control when they're ready to act. So if you don't have offers in front of them frequently enough and you're top of mind, when they're ready to act, they're going to go buy from someone else.
Yeah.
And so people who bring people onto their email list, they grow their audience, their email list, and they don't communicate with them and they don't make offers and they don't educate their list to be used to having offers from them, then their list is going to either run away when they make an offer, because like, where'd that come from? Or they're just going to be a valuable source of this know, like, and trust. And when people are ready to act, they're not going to know how to work with you.
Yeah. And if you're not able to sell your product or your service, you're going to burn out anyway in the end. And then you won't be able to help anybody. There'll be nothing that they can come to at all.
Exactly. And you want to make it simple for them, right? That's the other part, is simple. Make it simple.
Yeah.
If you can't explain your offers simply, then how can somebody be expected to buy from you if it's not simple for them to actually see why they want to buy it, what transformation they're going to get?
Yeah, I think it's important that we really take time every now and again to review, because we know our offers inside and out, right? But are we coming at it from the point of view of somebody fresh to our business? I realized just last week, I was telling a contact about these email templates I have that save people hours of work. They're just quick copy paste tweak for the icky factors that people don't like handling, like the ones they procrastinate on. It gives them a starting point. And I'm so proud of them. They get great testimonials. They work really well. And then my contact said, yeah, but I went on your website and I couldn't find them. I don't know what happened. It wasn't on my resources page. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I've been giving these out for ages as part of like summits and bundles and in my emails, but it wasn't actually on my website for people to just find when they needed them. So the people who have heard about them 7 or 8 times who go, oh, that's right, Marissa's got a template for that, I'll just go and grab it. They're not going to go through their inbox and look at the last 15 emails I've sent them. They're going to go to my website. Wasn't even there. So yeah, and I've been doing this for more than 10 years, and that little thing went under the radar. Didn't even notice.
I'm guilty of that. At this moment when we're recording this, my website is not where I want it to be, and that needs to be fixed up. It's on my to-do list for this month, so hopefully it will be done. But it's one of those. But it's about stepping back and looking at our business through fresh eyes. I think that's it, and then really just saying, where can I fix things?
Yeah,
where can I do that?
So what about the business owners who know they should be building their audience, but they feel quite stuck, like it's not working? building their following, do you think traffic is the first thing they should look at, or, what's the best way for people to build their audience in your experience? Because you've seen trends come and go as far as email list building. Is there a particular way that you recommend people do build their audience?
Yes. So the one twofold, there's one is being ready to build your audience. That's the first one, right? So making sure that, don't just create a lead magnet because somebody told you to create a lead magnet. There's a key word in lead magnet, which is lead. So when you're creating your lead magnets, and go back and review your lead magnets, are they actually, and I say lead magnets because you do need more than one. If you have more than one offer, or if people think and process information differently, are they leading to your offer? Right? Is it like, you want your lead magnet, whatever it is, to be something that leads to your offer that you want to make, right? So if you have multiple offers, you're probably going to want multiple lead magnets that bring that in.
Relevant
and
ones.
Then, yeah. And that's important, and that it's working. I recently saw somebody had this great lead magnet from a positioning point of view. I went to sign on it, didn't work. I didn't get it. They sent me an email. They said, "Why did you fill out my inquiry form on my website?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." And so the whole thing wasn't working.
Bad
right?
experience.
And eventually they sent it to me, and on it was decent on it, but there was no call. There was no next step. There was no, what do I do next? There was no follow through. There's no follow-up emails. So just lost opportunity for her. So making sure that's working, but making sure you're creating and getting involved in things that are going to bring your right people to your offer. Okay. And so starting with the end in mind is really important. But what I would say from your question of how do I build it, it's leverage. Like, leverage is the most important way and the fastest way to build your list right now. And what I mean by leverage, it's like that win-win. It's using somebody else's platform, or not using somebody else's platform, being involved in things where you're going to be in front of other people's audiences. Yeah. So win-win is when you're like, this is a great example, a podcast, you're in front of one person's audience, right? Yeah. So that's win-win. That's win-win. And if you can get in front of multiple audiences, like bundles, giveaways, speaking opportunities, then that's a win-win-win. Yeah. And you have a choice on that one, which is you either get to host the platform. So you're hosting this platform, you're going to get in front of my audience when it goes live. I'm going to get in front of yours, win-win. And same with a summit or a bundle. You can either host it or leverage somebody else's.
Oh, that's a good insight for the people who are seeing us all kind of participate in summits and bundles and going, how come no one ever asks me? Well, A, you could pitch yourself. You don't have to wait for the invitation. But B, you can host your own and get even more. It's a little bit of extra work, but I think we've seen from our experience in collaborating with other creators and entrepreneurs that it's completely worth it to do it.
It is the fastest way from somebody to go from zero to a list. Host your own event. Yeah. And it's also the fastest way to establish your expertise, because you're front and center, and the people that you're asking are not looking for how big your list is or anything like that. They're saying, hey, somebody's about to do something for me and I don't have to do a lot of work and I can get in front of other people's audiences. Yeah. And as long, it's one of the things I teach, as long as you have your you build your foundation. I have many of my clients go from nothing to 1,000 people on their list, or 2,000 or 3,000 people on their list, by hosting their own event. But what it does is it creates great relationships with people. You and I met through an event that we were both in, right? It creates great relationships. It establishes your expertise because you're talking on it, and you're leveraging. You're not, think of even simple back to my numbers thing. See, I'm always about numbers. If you have, I'm going to use easy numbers here. If you have an event with 10 people in it, and they each have 1,000 people on your list, you're in front of 10,000 people. Doesn't mean they'll all sign up, but your offer, your event is going to go in front of 10,000 people. Yes. And so that's where you can't get that on Facebook. You can't get that on Instagram. You can spend 4 months doing that on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and you won't get in front of that many people. If you host your own event or leverage somebody else's event. And often, like you said, people say, I don't have a list. How can I get on someone else's event? Not all events require lists. But if you want to build your list to get on other people's event, host your own. Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's a great insight for people who were thinking that the only way to grow quickly is through ads, but didn't have the budget. If you don't have the budget for ads or the know-how to make ads that work,
collaborative events are the way to go because they also position you as an authority. And that's something I think that slips through with ads.
Mm-hmm.
People forget to position themselves as an expert in their field because they feel that imposter syndrome and don't want to say it themselves. But when you're in a bundle or a summit or you're on somebody else's podcast or you're doing a joint venture with somebody else, that expert positioning is built into the activity. So it helps a lot.
Exactly. And it does. And, just even simple speaking opportunities. If somebody's got a Facebook group and they're looking for speakers, go in there, right? Like that'll get you used to it. But, and you don't have to be, the more front and center you are, the better it is to establish your expertise. But if you don't want to be front and center per se, you don't have to be. I've seen summits done where people provide the presentation and the host is not that front and center. Mind you, they're missing an opportunity when they do that, but that's okay. They're still the host. They're still the person whose emails are going in there. And yes, truth be told, in any of these events, you're going to get a spike of people join and then you're going to get a spike of people drop off. Mm-hmm. That's just part of it, right? But you're going to get more who stay on your list than drop off your list. Yeah. And it's such a great way. And the relationships that you form and the way that you can grow your business, and you still use social media to promote it. Mm-hmm. But it's a very different promotion than trying to hunt leads off social media.
Yes, I feel like then you can use social media to keep building your relationship with your followers, not to attract brand new followers. And it's a very different vibration at that point, isn't it? Because you're not desperately hunting or seeking or trying. You're just connecting with people who have already shown that they're interested in what you're doing.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. And what I tell people about building an email list, and I think this is not spoken about well enough, is that people ethically built an email list. I put that in there. People make a choice to be on your email list. They have to opt in. That's where the ethical comes. I just saw somebody do it very unethically by sharing their list to all their speakers. I'm like, no, you're not supposed to be doing that. No. And I know some of the people involved, and I'm like, really? But so ethically growing your list where people actually have to opt in. And then how people grow their list if you're involved is they, if they're involved in a summit or a giveaway or bundle, the people involved grow their list by getting opt-ins for their offer. That's how it works, right? So the host is going to get the biggest list build, and then the individual people will get what's there. Now, sometimes I've been in events where I've only had 9 people sign up. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, that bundle either didn't sell well or I wasn't in the right bundle. That's okay, right? It's a lesson learned and it's not much work for me, but it was a lesson learned. And then I've been in other ones where I have had crazy growth. I had a friend 2 or 3 years ago decided to do one for International Women's Day, and which is in March. And she did it like she literally put her bundle together. It was a giveaway, put her giveaway together, put it out in less than 3 weeks. Don't recommend that by any means. In less than 3 weeks, she added like 400 people to her list. And I added like 100 and I did nothing for it. And so those are the opportunities that are there for you to do this. And yeah, it's a great way to grow your list.
That's such a good point about have something ready, be ready to grow your audience, because opportunities can pop up out of nowhere. And if you're ready and you have a lead magnet or a mini course or a resource that you can offer that you don't have to do any additional work for, then that to me, that's the dream way to build a list without overwhelm, right? Because you and I, we really both like simplifying and not getting into that overwhelm space. So to think to yourself, this year, I'm going to plan out what are a couple of resources that I can offer if I'm speaking or collaborating or going in bundles and summits, and having that opt-in ready to go and having your resources ready to go and your headshot ready to send in, a little bio, and just having all of that behind the scenes work ready, it's going to make a huge difference in terms of building your list without getting overwhelmed.
And it's having like that foundational thing of having, I believe that there's freebies that you promote just generally off your website, and then you have some that you don't give away except for these events. Because if you're in a giveaway or bundle, there's usually want to be an assumed value to it. Yeah. Right. So either you do sell it like your templates you were talking about, either people can go and buy it for that assumed value. And then when you participate in the giveaway and bundle, you're giving that away. Yes. So you might be giving away a $200 product, but you're doing that to get email lists, people growing on your list who are actually interested and engaged in that $200. And it doesn't have to be 200. Some bundles are over 100. Some bundles are under. There's all different, but it's not that hard, particularly once you create your first one.
Yes.
Then you have your systems in place and it becomes really simple to have them and create them. And then I have 2 or 3 that I own, either you pay for or they go to bundles or summits or giveaways.
Same.
And then I have other freebies that are available for general consumption, right? And so having those and building that, it doesn't need to be complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And getting that foundational stuff and having your bio ready and having your headshot ready and testing your links out and having your privacy policy on your page and your terms and conditions, having all that done is just a really good foundation for you to either create your own event or leverage somebody else's event.
Yeah. And when you were talking about numbers before, I found that really interesting because I had the same. I've been in bundles where my list has grown by, say, 1,700 people from the one bundle. And then I've been in bundles or summits where my list has grown by 3 people. And one of those people signed up for private work that was high ticket. So I still got a result from it. And the numbers, numbers are great. And I think that does remove the pressure. But that whole people behind the number thing, like I have to remind myself, these are actual people that I'm helping. So, I should definitely plan and work my strategy on a numbers basis, but then I don't have to stress out if my numbers aren't as much as I wanted them to be, because the right people and the right messaging and showing people that I can help them is still going to convert. As long as I've got an offer ready to go for them, I'm good.
And absolutely. And the effort to be in, when you have everything in place, the effort to be involved in things is so small, right? It really is, right? We have to send out 2 emails. They usually give you the swipe copy. We have to handle our links, fill out a form. If it's done, it's there. And it doesn't mean there's a I think it's a summit that I was like, do I want to be involved in it? And I don't have the perfect topic for it, although the summit's probably pretty good for me. So it's like, do I want to spend the time? That's back to should. Here's a summit I should apply for. Do I want to spend the time? Is it right for me at this moment to spend time creating something new to provide as a freebie, as a way to grow my list? Or is it just a next time kind of thing? And so sometimes we have to ask that. But once you've got those foundations in place, it's so easy. And 3 people and 1 turns into a client. What a great return on your investment, right?
Yeah. And imagine if I hadn't have done it because I thought numbers would be low. I would have missed out. Yeah. But you're right. That should factor does influence. That's such a good way to approach everything this year and going forward, is that should factor. I really like that. I find that really helpful.
The other one that I find really helpful is to approach things with curiosity. So, hey, I'm going to try this event. I just participated in one. I'm going to try this event. I have no idea what it's going to turn out to be, but I'm going to be curious about it. And I got great return on what I did. It actually made me clean up some stuff I hadn't cleaned up in a while. But that sense of curiosity, as opposed to, I don't want to use a word that comes to mind as desperation, but it's not really that one. It's that overly invested. But if you have the foundation in place, then participating, coming on I've been on podcasts where I remember doing one podcast interview, it never got aired, right? But did I lose anything from that? Not really. I created a relationship. It made me think things through a little bit. It's only happened once. But they changed their theme of their podcast. It had nothing to do with me. It's just their podcast focus changed. And they went more into personal development than a business development mode. But like even doing a podcast, like build your strategy, like get your foundations in place. And they say, how can I leverage somebody else's audience? Well, maybe I'd like to grow and I have a client I'm working with right now. It's like, well, what about podcasting? And so what do you need to do podcasting? Well, you need a topic, you need a freebie, you need a way to grow your list again, but you need to have like not so much a signature topic, but a topic that's going to interest the podcast that you approach. Summits, bundles, speaking opportunities in other people's groups, writing guest articles. So, right, there are tons of publications, including blogs and other things where people would love to have a guest come in and write an article. And so when you build this stuff up and you start to become an expert in your area, then you can take an article, tweak it, and publish it and use different things like that. So this is all off social media.
I love that. Okay, so have your lead magnet ready. Know the topics that you want to talk about and how they're going to benefit the people that are going to be exposed to them. And then get a little proactive and start inviting yourself onto things and pitching other people. And yeah, that sounds like a really doable way to do it. And I know you have a resource actually on lead magnets that I think would help people out who are like, oh, I haven't done a lead magnet yet. I'm too busy to create one. I don't know where to start. Can we share that resource with the listeners?
Absolutely.
Oh, great. Okay. So guys, it's on Heather's website, but I'm going to leave a link in the show notes. It's called 20 Lead Magnet Ideas That Convert. Such a good way to move from that sort of procrastination factor and that, you know, how do I create one, or what am I going to create that people actually want, and move into action mode so that you have something up and running. So when opportunities come up, you're ready to go. That sounds to me like a really good thing to prioritize in your business this year, because once that's done, it can open doors. It can make things feel almost effortless in terms of getting things done and seeing results from your actions. I think that's really worth it. So yeah, I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes for that one.
And I would also challenge you, if you're creating your first or next lead magnet, do it quickly.
Yes.
Do it quickly. It doesn't mean in there's 20. I mean, I could go and add another 20 ideas, right? Like a checklist, or there's just so many things. And that also includes like some templates for writing your email as well. But it doesn't have to be hard, right? It's just like, just get it done. Get it done. Book an hour, book 4 hours in your schedule in the next couple of weeks, 2 hours to write it, 2 hours to make it look pretty. Canva, the tools we have available to do this now are just so awesome. You can go into Canva and look in your templates, and there'll be like habit health checklists and other things like that already there that you can just pull in, right? So you can create something really quickly. It doesn't need to be perfect, and you can fix it. Just like get it done, get it working, and then start looking for opportunities to build your list, leveraging other people's audiences.
Yes, I love that. You can go into Canva now and type in the template search box lead magnet, and it'll give you a 6-page beautifully designed ebook that you just rebrand for you and insert your content. My mind was blown at the things you can find in Canva templates these days.
Absolutely. And there's a lot in Canva templates for personal development side, like habit checklist, scheduling, that stuff. And from a business perspective, you can just adapt them. Do you know what? A free masterclass is a lead magnet. Like, we just don't think of that. It doesn't have to be that, like, if you like speaking live and you do that, just do a masterclass. You can sell off the end or not, right? There's just so many things that you can do. And yeah, just get it done.
Yes. And if you're looking for an idea for your masterclass, go back to your blog post. Which one's performed really well? Take that blog post, turn it into a masterclass, and you're good to go.
Exactly. Turn it into a freebie. It doesn't have to be hard. People don't want hard.
Yeah.
People want, the other thing about creating your lead magnet is people want ahas. They want connections. Nobody really wants to read an ebook anymore in the same way. They want ones that actually give them an aha. Yeah. So, right. So think about that when you're creating it. And remember, it's your first step to whatever you sell.
Yeah. And don't cram too much into it. Yeah. Don't overwhelm them. Give them one little quick win, right? One little quick win that they can action, see a result from, and then go, right, this person knows what they're talking about. They have helped me. They are worth spending my time and money with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm so excited. This has been such a good conversation. These sorts of talks get me so motivated. I can tell you know all of the ins and outs, Heather. You can tell you've had so much experience with this, because being able to zero in on exactly what to prioritize is something that's a game changer. And even just from our conversation today, I'm like, you're right. There's so much busy stuff around that we do because we kind of don't want to get into the nuts and bolts of things, but the nuts and bolts of where we're going to get our results from. So to be able to kind of push all of that distracting stuff away and hone in on those 2 or 3 little things that we've talked about today, that's going to make such a big difference for everybody. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing all of that.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, don't, we're all going to go for the shiny object syndrome because that's what we do. But just because something worked for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
Without the foundations in place, you need to have them. And those, like you said, those gurus who have all these things are the ones that are the big names, are seamlessly running their business. They've got the numbers down pat. They've done this work so that they can get to the point, but they tend to sometimes give a false illusion of it being simple and easy. And it can be simple and easy, but it does require work and just setting up some good foundations in your business.
And I think it's important to remember too that the big names 10, 15 years ago weren't big names. They were exactly where a lot of us are starting now. A lot of us who are years 1 to 3 in our business, think about where you're going to be in 15 years, as long as you're consistently taking prioritized actions and you're tracking your numbers and you're testing and tweaking. That tweaking to convert higher, that alone, we could have just done a whole episode just on that, right?
It's and you know what? When you tweak to convert higher, it's not what you think. And you're right. We could do a whole episode on that because it's amazing what little tweaks can do to change things.
Yes, tiny things. Yeah. Okay. I think we need to get you back for another episode just on that one.
I would love to.
Yay. All right, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed this conversation as much as we have enjoyed talking about this stuff. If you have any questions, pop on over to Instagram. I'm at Marissa Roberts Official. Are you on Instagram, Heather? I think you are.
I am. I'm at Heather Cameron Coach.
Oh, good. And I'll link you in the show notes as well. So you can come and chat with us about simplifying and prioritizing your business and actually building it in a structured way that takes the pressure off, gets rid of imposter syndrome, and encourages you to take messy action. So come on over and chat with us there. You can also leave a review on the podcast as well. Let us know. Are we covering topics that you like? Is there stuff that, you want to hear about that you haven't yet? I'd love to hear your feedback, and I will see you all in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Simpler Business Podcast. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to make it nice and easy for you, just the way we like it. If you're ready to simplify and scale your business, you can get started with my free audio class at marissaroberts.com. See you next time.